The party at Delta Rho Sigma was supposed to be like every other Friday night on campus. Cheap beer, too loud music, too many people in a house built for half that number. By Saturday morning, most of it was a blur, until the photos started going up. Group shots in the kitchen, candid selfies in the hallway, videos of people chanting on the porch. And in picture after picture, there was one face nobody recognized. Not in the frat roster, not in anyone's contact list, not in any campus directory. A guy in a dark hoodie lingering in the background, standing near the stairs, near the back door, near the basement. By Sunday, one of the brothers was missing. By Monday, police tape wrapped around the house. And by the time detectives pieced the night together, one thing was clear. Someone crashed that party who was never meant to be there, and someone never left. You're watching Enter the Crime. Delta Rho Sigma sat at the far end of Linden Street, just off a Midwestern college campus. White two-story house, peeling paint, letters mounted over the porch, string lights drooping from the roofline. Inside, basement party room with a sticky concrete floor. Main floor with a living room, kitchen, and cramped bathroom. Second floor bedrooms, each housing 2 or 3 guys. It was the kind of place everyone on campus knew. If it was Friday and the music was loud, you could walk in, and nobody would stop you as long as you looked vaguely college-aged and didn't start trouble. On the night in question, October 14th, they were hosting a themed party. Back to freshman year, tacky backpacks, old orientation lanyards, people wearing their first-year shirts ironically. By 10:45 p.m., the house was packed. By 11:30, the frat president, Kyle McLean, had given up trying to count how many people were inside. The door was a revolving one. Nobody kept a list. The missing student's name was Evan Torres, 21. He was a junior majoring in civil engineering, treasurer of Delta Rho Sigma, known for being responsible. The guy who'd take your keys so you didn't drive drunk. He'd spent most of that Friday afternoon finalizing the party budget, ordering kegs, picking up ice, making sure the rented speakers actually worked. Friends said he wasn't a huge partier. He drank, sure, but he wasn't the one chanting on tables. Around 8:30 p.m., a text to a friend, all set for tonight. If this goes well, Chapter won't be in the red for one LOL. Cameras from a nearby convenience store show him at 9:02 p.m. buying snacks and cigarettes. At 9:17 p.m., house cameras and party videos show him in the kitchen, setting up drinks. At 9:43 p.m., he appears in a group photo, arm around a friend, red cup in hand. That is the last clear, undisputed image of him alive. By the next afternoon, his roommate realized he hadn't come back to the dorm. His bed was untouched. His phone went straight to voicemail. He hadn't swiped his campus card anywhere since the night before. At first, people assumed he'd crashed at someone's place. By Sunday evening, when nobody had heard from him, they called campus police. By Monday, the case belonged to city detectives. The morning after the party, the house looked like every hangover. Empty cups on every flat surface, half-crushed beer cans on the stairs, a suspicious stain no one wanted to identify. The brothers did what they always did, opened windows, started trash bags, and laughed about the dumbest moments from the night. Remember that guy who fell off the futon? Who broke the bathroom door this time? Who brought the dude with the backpack? He kept lurking by the stairs. That last question didn't stick at first. There were always extra people, friends of friends, people from other fraternities, girls from neighboring dorms. It only became important later, because as the day wore on, one brother kept saying, "Has anyone seen Evan?" By late afternoon, they were sending texts. "Yo, you alive? Did you go home with someone?" "Dude, answer. This looks bad." He didn't answer. They checked the bedrooms, the basement, the side yard, the attic crawl space where someone had once passed out. Nothing. By the time detectives arrived 2 days later with a warrant, the house was cleaner, but not clean enough to erase what happened. The basement of Delta Rho Sigma was the heart of the party. Low ceiling, string lights, old couches dragged from curbs, a bar built from old pallets, a Bluetooth speaker that never quite connected right. On Friday night, it had been wall-to-wall bodies. By Monday morning, it was quiet. Detectives Mia Lewis and Tom Grady walked the concrete floor, taking in the room. They weren't there because the frat had called. They were there because, 1. A student was missing. 2. Evan's last verifiable presence was at this party. 3. A neighbor had reported hearing a fight or something heavy dropping from the basement around 1:10 a.m. There were no cameras installed downstairs, so they relied on what the brothers said, what the guests remembered, and what the trash revealed. Under one of the couches, crime scene techs found a small smear of dried blood on the concrete, half cleaned by a mop. A plastic bracelet, the kind used for event entry, torn in half. A cracked phone case that didn't match any of the brothers' phones. The blood sample was too small at first glance to scream crime scene. College basements see broken glass, busted lips, and nosebleeds. But when they collected it and logged it, they marked it as a priority. Because a missing student plus blood in a dark basement is never something you shrug off. As word spread that police were asking questions, photos started surfacing. Students at the party had already posted some. Others were still sitting in camera rolls and group chats. Detective Lewis did what detectives do in college town cases now. She issued a broad request. If you were at the Delta Rho Sigma party on Friday, please upload any photos or videos from that night to the secure link. They were flooded with uploads, selfies, crowd shots, TikTok clips, boomerangs of people clinking cups. At first, they were just noise, but as Lewis and Grady clicked through, they started recognizing faces. The brothers, identified through the college site and social media. Known guests, girlfriends, classmates. Evan, smiling, weaving through the kitchen, talking to someone near the stairs. And then they noticed him, a guy in the background of multiple shots. Not posing, not interacting obviously, just there, in the hallway, near the kitchen door, on the stairs leading down to the basement. He wore a dark hoodie with the hood down, a black baseball cap, a backpack slung over one shoulder. In some frames, his face is partially turned away. In others, it's just blurred motion. When the detectives started asking the brothers, "Who is this guy?" the answers were all the same. "I thought he was with someone else. Isn't he from the lacrosse team? I've never seen him before in my life. No one could name him. He wasn't tagged in any photo. He wasn't on any frat list. Yet from 11 p.m. to at least 1 a.m., he appears in almost every zone of the house, like he was tracking the flow of the party, and maybe tracking someone specific." Putting phone data, witness statements, and photo timestamps together, detectives built a rough timeline for Evan. 9:17 p.m., scene in the kitchen setting up drinks. 9:43 p.m., group photo in the living room. 10:12 p.m., video shows him on the back deck talking to two classmates. 11:05 p.m., photo captures him at the top of the basement stairs, laughing, cup in hand. 11:42 p.m., TikTok shows him in the basement dancing, briefly visible in the background. 12:08 a.m., a text from his phone to a friend. "Packed as hell. Come through." 12:31 a.m., phone connects briefly to the frat Wi-Fi, pinging from the basement. 1:02 a.m., last known communication. A read receipt on a message from a classmate. No reply sent. After that, nothing. No more Wi-Fi pings. No more location updates. No more texts or calls. But photos tell a quieter story. At 12:24 a.m., a blurry party photo shows Evan at the bottom of the stairs in the basement. 2 steps behind him, half out of frame, is Hoodie Guy. At 12:47 a.m., a photo taken in the kitchen upstairs shows Hoodie Guy near the sink, backpack still on, eyes directed toward the basement door. Evan is nowhere in that frame. At 1:09 a.m., a neighbor hears a thud through the thin walls. At 1:17 a.m., a doorbell camera across the street records someone leaving by the side entrance. A man in a hoodie, backpack on his shoulder, The video isn't clear enough to be sure, but the outline matches. Evan never exits on any camera that night. Officially, his last confirmed location is the basement at a crowded party with a stranger no one invited. Frat parties are notorious for bad documentation. There was no formal guest list for that night, but there were group chats where invites were sent, flyers shared in DMs, a private Instagram story saying, Delta Rho, 10 p.m., BYOC. Detectives asked, did anyone invite someone from off-campus? Any older friends? Siblings? Alumni? Answers varied. Yeah, I told my cousin he could bring a friend. I told a guy from my lab to swing through. Some randoms always show up. We don't check IDs at the door. Detective Grady pressed. Anyone specifically remember this guy with the backpack? A few people vaguely did. I thought he was with Kyle. I assumed he came with the girls from Sigma Theta. He was standing near the fridge for a while. I think I bumped into him. No one remembered a conversation. No name. No major incident. He didn't start a fight. Didn't get wasted and cause a scene. Didn't flirt loudly with someone in a way that stuck in memory. He blended in, well enough to be seen, not enough to be recognized. When they ran his face through campus security's facial recognition on camera feeds from nearby streets, they got hits. Walking toward Linden Street at 9:41 p.m., passing a coffee shop 3 blocks away earlier that day. No student ID photos matched. He wasn't in the official system. He was an outsider using an open door. The small smear of blood in the basement wasn't much. But lab work moves faster when police label a case, missing person, suspected foul play, and the trail is fresh. Within days, the lab confirmed the DNA profile from the blood matched Evan's toothbrush from his dorm. It was consistent with a blunt force injury. The quantity suggested a wound more serious than a nosebleed, less than a catastrophic trauma at that exact spot. Another detail emerged. In the basement bathroom, a cramped half bath with a toilet and a small sink. Crime scene techs found. Trace blood in the sink drain, almost invisible. Diluted streaks on the underside of the porcelain, as if someone had washed their hands in a hurry. DNA testing matched the sink trace to the same profile. Evans. Someone hit him in the basement, badly enough to bleed. Someone washed up. And somehow, in a house packed with people, no one saw a fight serious enough to trigger help. Or if they did, they downplayed it as drunk dudes messing around. Alcohol, loud music, dim lighting, the perfect environment for a short, brutal incident to pass as background noise. At first, everyone's version of the night was fuzzy in the same way. Too crowded, too loud, too drunk. But as detectives kept coming back, details shifted. One brother now remembered Evan arguing with someone near the bar table. A guest vaguely recalled seeing 2 guys bump shoulders harder than usual. Another thought she saw a guy in a hoodie guiding someone toward the back wall. The problem? Each recollection emerged after the group had had time to talk among themselves and see news about a mystery guest on social media. Memory is not a video file. It's a story we keep editing. Detective Lewis knew that. She separated witnesses, re-interviewed them, and watched for overlap and invention. The most consistent thread was small. Multiple people remembered. The mystery hoodie guy is almost always near the basement stairs. Evan passed by him multiple times. At least one moment when they seemed to be speaking, though no one heard the words. One guest, Maya, described it. I saw them near the wall. The hoodie guy had his hand on Evan's arm, like he was trying to get his attention or keep him from walking away. I remember thinking they might be friends, or maybe he owed him money or something. It didn't look like a brawl, just tense. Tension at a frat party rarely triggers alarms, until someone disappears. Campus police eventually got a small break. Early that semester, there had been reports of a man loitering near dorm entrances late at night, hanging around bulletin boards, watching crowds come and go, asking vague questions about where the parties usually are. Multiple students described him as late 20s or early 30s, wearing a dark hoodie and baseball cap, carrying a backpack. Security recorded him on exterior cameras twice. When detectives compared the stills to the frat party images, the similarity was striking. The campus had issued a general warning, but he'd never been identified. No assaults, no thefts formally linked, just a pattern of hovering at edges. The working theory emerged. He wasn't there for the party. He was there for people. Drunk students, open doors, no questions asked. A self-selected hunting ground. Did he target Evan specifically? Or did Evan just walk past him one too many times in a crowded basement? Without a body, without a confession, they couldn't say. Because yes, months in, Evan was still missing. No credit card use, no camera sightings, no calls to family. Just a void where a person used to be. Took 7 months. A county work crew clearing brush near a drainage culvert, a mile from campus, noticed something caught in the reeds along a shallow creek. It was a shoe. When they got closer, they saw a bone. The medical examiner's team recovered partial skeletal remains, shreds of clothing consistent with what Evan wore that night. A watch his parents later confirmed was his. The autopsy, working with what was left, suggested blunt force trauma to the skull. No obvious post-mortem dismemberment, likely transported and dumped. The site was accessible by a narrow service road. Tire impressions were long gone. No cameras, no homes in direct view. A quick night drive away from campus. Someone knew how to get out of the college bubble fast. The missing person case became a homicide. The frat party became the last known environment. The mystery guest moved from weird extra in photos to primary suspect. But still, no name. Years later, students who were at that party still scroll back through their photos sometimes. They see, a little younger, friends they've since lost touch with, bad decisions in plastic cups, and always, in some frames, the guy in the hoodie, the one no one can tag, the one hovering just behind Evan in that last clear picture. Police created a composite based on the best images. They released it to the public. Tips came in as they always do. He looks like my old neighbor. I swear that's a guy who used to work at the gas station. I think I saw him years ago in another college town. None of it is solid. Nothing led to an identification that could stick. Eventually, the frat house changed hands. New class, new letters, new parties. But on some nights, someone will point to a scuffed mark on the basement wall and say, "That's where they think it happened." None of them was there. They've only heard the story about the frat party where one guest wasn't invited and one brother never came home. The story gets told and retold like a warning disguised as a ghost story. Check who you're letting in. Pay attention to the quiet ones who never give their names. And remember that in a crowded room, the most dangerous person may not be the loudest. You've been watching Enter the Crime.